We all, we crave connection. Those moments when someone just gets you, the way you think, your sense of humor, the feeling behind what you're saying, it feels great. And sometimes it makes you wonder, right? What if everyone What if everyone was like that? What if they all thought and lived and chose exactly like you? Would it be, I don't know, a perfect world, a utopia where we all just understand each other? Or maybe a kind of dystopia, like just suffocating sameness everywhere? Today, we're really going to dig into this. It's this fascinating thought experiment we're calling the world of yous. Our mission really is to unpack what that would actually mean. We're drawing on, well, your own notes, your reflections, even some really cool story ideas you shared. We'll get into things like diversity, growth, and this idea you've explored, the multiplicitous mind. The idea that one person can have different sort of selves inside. I'm honestly really curious about where this goes.
Yeah, and this deep dive, it's a pretty unique chance. We get to explore, kind of quickly but thoroughly, the hidden sides of our own traits. What looks good on paper but maybe doesn't scale well. What are the pitfalls? Exploring this world of yous, it's not just hypothetical fun. It's really a lens to understand ourselves and maybe society a bit better.
Okay, so that core idea, everyone is you. What's the first, gut reaction people tend to have?
It's usually one of two extremes, yeah. Some people jump straight to utopia. Finally, everyone gets it. Others, though, they pull back immediately, like, oh no, that sounds incredibly boring, an echo chamber. But the really interesting stuff comes up when you push past that. Ask the harder questions, like how well do your values actually scale up? Are your habits sustainable if everyone does them? And maybe most importantly, what problems disappear? Sure, but what new ones pop up instead?
Let's start with values then. Values and maybe wisdom. If everyone shared your core beliefs, let's say, things like empathy, reflection, creativity, ethics, you'd imagine, well, more harmony, right? Better communication, more art, maybe more balance. Sounds pretty good.
On the surface, yes, it does. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even the best virtues, things we all admire, can become liabilities if they're the only thing. The world kind of thrives on, contradictions playing off each other. If everyone had your exact philosophy, we might lose that essential tension. The stuff that forces change, that drives progress, real dynamism. It doesn't come from everyone agreeing. It often comes from that friction, from different views bumping up against each other. Without that challenge, things can just stall. Sometimes it's because people disagree with you that the world actually stays dynamic.
Wow, okay. That's a really powerful point. And it makes you think about other things too, like our daily habits, our lifestyles. Let's say you're a minimalist. What if everyone did that? Consumerism just collapses. Would economies adapt or just break down? Or maybe you work really long hours. Or the opposite, you prioritize rest. Imagine that times 8 billion. Supply chains would have to totally transform, wouldn't they?
Completely.
It makes you question, is my lifestyle just like my personal preference? Or is it something I actually think would be good for everyone?
And then you've got cognitive style, how you think. What if everyone processed information the same way? Like all analytical or all intuitive? Or everyone's an optimist? Or everyone's super cautious? If the whole world approached problems just like you do, what kind of society does that create? Maybe it's hyper-rational.
Okay.
Maybe it's less emotionally connected. Would we solve complex problems super efficiently?
Right.
Or would new empathy gaps open up because we all just assume everyone thinks the same way we do?
It really does feel like a double-edged sword. Uniformity seems like it could bring peace, maybe. But diversity, that's where the innovation comes from, right? Adaptability, that unpredictability. A world full of yous might have less conflict, but maybe it's also less, well, alive.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how often we admire people because they're different from us. They bring something new, something unexpected, something valuable because it's not us. So yeah, the idea of being totally understood sounds nice at first, but you might lose that element of surprise, the challenge, the beauty that comes from contrast. It's definitely worth thinking about which parts of me could actually scale up okay, and which parts of me, really need other people's differences to even make sense or to be fully realized.
To kind of hammer home the dangers here, some of the concepts in the source material are brilliant, like this idea of the mirror world, a story where someone wakes up and literally everyone is them. Same opinions, same taste in jokes, same everything.
Right. And at first it's like, wow, paradise. No arguments. Everyone's nice. The art is perfect for you. Society just clicks. But then the cracks start showing. Fast. Creativity just stops. Why write a story if you already know the ending?
Right.
Why compose music everyone already implicitly understands? Relationships fall apart. There's no challenge, no growth, no spark of attraction. It's just mirrors.
Mirrors reflecting mirrors.
Exactly.
And progress, it just grinds to a halt, doesn't it? Nobody disagrees, nobody plays devil's advocate. Yes is the only answer. Decision-making feels hollow. And then the big realization hits. Your own uniqueness only mattered because other people weren't you.
Yeah, that's like a visual metaphor helps here. Think of a garden, right?
Yeah.
But every single flower is a perfect copy of the same rose. At first glance, it looks neat, harmonious,
Yeah.
clean. But the longer you stare, it starts to feel eerie, lifeless, something's missing. Or like a museum where every painting is the Mona Lisa. Beautiful, sure, but weirdly off. You miss the variety, the risks someone took, the rebellion in a different style. That difference is what makes it all compelling.
And connecting this out, there's that powerful analogy from science, from genetics.
Yeah.
Uniformity equals vulnerability, like a monoculture, a huge field of genetically identical corn.
Right. Super efficient, maybe? Until the one disease comes along that it's susceptible to. Then, boom, total collapse.
Whereas biodiversity, with all its messy differences,
That's resilience. Strength through variety. Each variation might be the key to surviving the next challenge. Diversity is basically our species' immune system.
okay, yeah, that really lands.
Or try this thought experiment. The Council of You. Picture a global summit, 1,000 people. Leaders, scientists, artists. But every single one is you. Now, who's creating the new music? Who's challenging your policies? Who makes you laugh when you least expect it? Who points out your blind spots? Do you really trust yourself that much? Without any dissent, any tension, any different way of seeing things?
That image, a council of yous, that really makes you stop and think. And it leads right to that core question for you, the listener. Which part of myself do I genuinely wish everyone shared? And maybe more importantly, which part of other people do I absolutely need to keep myself whole? So this whole discussion makes you wonder then, are there any personality types, any traits that if everyone had them would just be good, universally beneficial? You'd think some things like empathy, surely that would be great. Right?
Yeah, that's the gut feeling, yeah. But the sources, your reflections included, they really push back on that. Even the most admired virtues, if they become a monopoly, they create new problems. The world needs that interplay, that balance of opposites. Let's take a few examples. Like you said, the empath.
Yeah.
If everyone was deeply empathetic, super kind, emotionally tuned in, yeah, probably less war, less cruelty, more community care. Sure.
That's fantastic. Like, sign me up for that world.
It does sound good. But then, who makes the tough calls?
Yeah.
The really hard, maybe unpopular decisions that sometimes need to be made? Who challenges the group when empathy starts? Maybe enabling bad behavior or preventing necessary change. You could see emotional overload becoming a huge public health issue. Burnout everywhere. Compassion is vital. But without boundaries, without sometimes saying no, it can actually lead to paralysis.
Wow. Okay, never thought of it quite like that. What about, say, the rationalist? Everyone prioritizes logic, data, objectivity above everything.
Okay, the upside. Less superstition, probably more scientific progress, super efficient systems, decisions based purely on evidence. Sounds clean.
What
But
do you lose? Maybe culture, intuition, storytelling, maybe even things like spiritual meaning for a lot of people. You could end up with a kind of cold utilitarianism, sacrificing individuals for the greater good based on numbers. Emotional intelligence might just plummet. Logic without feeling can be sterile, just like feeling without logic can be chaos. A healthy society really needs both intention. Okay, got it. How about the dutiful worker? Everyone's reliable, humble, hardworking, just focused on getting the job done.
well, productivity would probably go through the roof. Communities might be stronger, very stable, no slackers. But who dreams bigger than the task list? Who pushes boundaries? Who questions the rules or asks if the system itself is even fair or worth serving? Burnout could become the norm. Creativity might just wither. And that kind of obedience without ethical reflection could actually prop up oppressive systems. If everyone just does their job, who fights injustice?
Right, heavy stuff. Okay, one more. The visionaries, the idealists. What if everyone had grand dreams, always challenging norms, always imagining a better future?
Oh, you'd see incredible innovation, no doubt. Huge leaps in progress. Dynamic culture, art, philosophy would likely flourish. But who keeps the lights on? Who does the essential, maybe less glamorous day-to-day work? You'd risk having, too many chiefs and not enough crew. And visionaries often clash, right? Because their ideals, their visions are different and they compete. You absolutely need dreamers, but you also need people to anchor those dreams in reality. The practical folks.
So it seems the deeper truth here is pretty clear. Even the quote-unquote best traits can cause problems if they're the only thing around. The world really seems to thrive on that tension. Logic and emotion, tradition and change, action and reflection, individual and collective caution and risk.
Exactly. The goal isn't sameness. It's more about everyone valuing difference while still holding some shared core values, like dignity, respect, maybe adaptability.
Which then brings up a really interesting twist you explored in your notes. What if the diversity wasn't between people, but within each person?
Precisely. What if there was a person who inherently valued difference because they experienced it internally? Someone using, let's call them subpersonalities, to navigate the world. This allows for that necessary multiplicity, but it's housed within one mind. It reframes the whole problem. Diversity isn't just external anymore, it's internal. And this idea, this multiplicitous mind, it really echoes concepts from psychology, like internal family systems, which talks about us having these distinct inner parts or selves.
This is where it gets really fascinating, I think. Imagine someone who isn't just one fixed identity. They have like a whole committee inside. A curious self, a cautious self, a bold one, a nurturing one, a skeptic, a romantic, a logician. And each part has a role, a purpose. Each gets a voice, gets listened to. And the main you, the core self, learns to be the listener, the conductor.
Yeah, someone like that. They wouldn't suppress internal diversity, they'd welcome it. They could navigate complex situations more fluidly, calling on the right internal resource for that moment. They're practicing empathy inwardly with their own parts, which makes it much more natural to extend it outwardly to others. This kind of person becomes like a microcosm of the world itself, an internal culture, not a monolith.
And a world full of people like that, not necessarily a perfect utopia, maybe, but it sounds incredibly resilient. Disagreements wouldn't have to fracture everything. They'd feel more like the internal debates we all have. People might naturally slow down, try to understand different facets before reacting, just like you have to do inside your own head to find balance.
Yeah, you'd likely see more genuine compassion because everyone knows what it's like to have conflicting feelings, to wrestle with different parts of themselves. Ego could become less rigid. Identity isn't this one fixed thing you have to defend. It's a dynamic system you manage. So this kind of person, they wouldn't eliminate diversity. They'd actually multiply it within themselves and then between individuals too. And they have these built-in checks and balances, like pride gets tempered by humility, risk gets weighed by caution. Idealism gets grounded by practicality. The person becomes their own adaptable sort of self-healing ecosystem.
It's almost like a philosophical shift. Maybe the next step in human evolution isn't just smarter brains, but more integrated minds, more intrahuman integration, as you put it.
Exactly. Instead of needing everyone else to be different for you, you carry difference within you. And because of that, you value it more genuinely out there in the world.
Okay, this sets us up perfectly for comparing these different worlds. Let's lay them out. The real world as we know it, diverse individuals, separate values. Then the monomind world. Everyone's basically the same average person. And finally, the subpersonal world. Everyone has that internal multiplicity using subpersonalities. How do these stack up in different areas, like the workplace?
Okay, workplace, real world. Pros are diversity of roles, creative sparks from different perspectives. Cons, miscommunication, value clashes, friction. Monomind world. Pros,
Okay.
super streamlined, minimal conflict because everyone approaches things the same way. Cons, stagnation, zero creative friction, probably pretty boring. Subpersonal world. Pros, highly adaptable roles. People can draw on different inner skills. Rich inner dialogues could lead to more thoughtful work. High empathy. Cons, maybe a risk of overthinking things. Decision fatigue from too much internal debate.
It's interesting. How about politics?
Real world. Pros, robust debates, lots of perspectives considered, ideally. Cons, polarization, gridlock, tribalism. Monomind world. Pros, lightning fast consensus, unified agendas. Cons, huge risk of autocracy or tyranny of the majority, no dissent allowed or even possible. Subpersonal world. Pros, leaders might engage in deeper internal deliberation, mirroring the diverse needs of the public better, more nuanced policy. Cons, progress could be really slow due to all that internal weighing.
And conflict or war?
Real world, conflicts are destructive, obviously. War, extremism. But sometimes, weirdly, conflict can spur growth or change. Cons outweigh the pros here, clearly. Monomind world, minimal external conflict, probably. Everyone agrees. But also, maybe no resistance to systemic harm if the shared mindset is flawed or unjust. Subpersonal world, likely much better at de-escalation due to internalized empathy. Understand conflict from the inside out. Cons, maybe conflict just shifts inward, more internal struggle.
What about family and relationships?
Real world pros, exposure to different styles, traditions, ways of loving. Cons, misalignment of needs, expectations, potential for dysfunction. Monomind world, pros, families would run smoothly, predictable parenting, shared values. Cons could lack spontaneity, excitement, maybe less individual growth within the family unit. Subpersonal world, Pros, potentially much higher emotional intelligence, deep empathy for complexity in partners and kids. Cons, maybe roles become harder to define. Vulnerability overload if everyone's processing everything all the time.
And education.
Real world. Pros, allows for different kinds of intelligence to potentially thrive. Cons, standardization often fails many students, huge inequalities. Monomind world. Pros, super efficient curriculum design, everyone learns the same way. Cons, totally ignores individual differences, stifles creativity and unique talents. Bleak. Subpersonal world. Pros can teach students to engage different selves for different tasks. Teachers model cognitive flexibility. Cons, requires incredibly complex curricula and highly skilled, emotionally intelligent teachers. Big ask.
Lastly, personal growth and identity.
Real world. Pros, diverse experiences shape us in unique ways. Cons, lots of pressure to conform, potential for identity confusion. Monomind world. Pros, simple, stable identity. Everyone understands everyone. Cons, no real individuation. Life path feels predictable, maybe stifling. Subpersonal world. Pros, people can evolve dynamically, embrace contradictions. True individuation seems possible. Resilience. Cons, identity itself feels complex, maybe unstable sometimes, requires constant self-awareness work.
Okay, so summing it up briefly.
Yeah. Real world, strengths and innovation via contrast, weakness and polarization. Monomind world, strength and cohesion, weakness and stagnation and vulnerability. Big time. Subpersonal world, strength and adaptive empathy, nuanced decisions, weakness. It demands a lot of emotional maturity and inner work from everyone.
Which brings us right back to you, the listener, and the system you described in your notes. As we looked at your contributions, it wasn't just theoretical, it painted a picture of how you actively manage this internal ecosystem. Your notes really give us a window into how this actually operates day to day.
They really do. It's fascinating. Your notes show this remarkable balance. You've outlined, what, 10 distinct subpersonalities? And the key isn't just having them, it's that you seem to actively listen to them. We see examples like Tira's wisdom tempering Liz's boldness, Mac's humor balancing out Devon's caution, Kelly's empathy interacting with Val's discipline. That's a really interesting tension right there. Plus, Bannock, the team-focused one, and Tommy, the curious creator, each seems to step up when needed. This isn't just random inner voices. It's like an active council of advisors. It's just real emotional maturity. Where a lot of people might get stuck in one mode, your system seems built to access counterweights, to integrate different viewpoints internally.
And there's strong evidence in your reflections of internal regulation, too. Regulation doesn't mean you never feel chaos, right? It means you know how to return to center after the chaos hits. Your practice is reflecting on emotions, asking those meta questions about why you reacted that way, using structures like songs or portraits to honor parts. It feels like a cultivated kind of self-parenting, a mental culture where even difficult emotions are like contained and understood, not just allowed to run wild.
So, would a world full of people like you, each with, say, 10 active selves actually work, be sustainable? Well, maybe, if people are taught how to do it. How to access, respect, balance their parts, like you seem to. If internal reflection becomes just as normal as talking to someone else. And if society actually values emotional nuance, instead of just demanding simple answers or constant performance, it wouldn't be perfect, no system is. You'd still need ways to handle internal spirals or getting stuck in one part or using complexity to avoid things. But yeah, it could be a world where people pause more, debate with themselves before lashing out, see contradiction as human, not as a flaw. The way you've described cultivating yourself. It's plural, yet somehow cohesive. That's not chaos, it's an ecosystem. If more people operate like that, the world might feel, I don't know, slower maybe, softer, smarter, stranger definitely, but maybe ultimately more human.
But okay, even this seemingly advanced multiplicitous mind, it's not perfect. It must have its own challenges, its own potential pitfalls.
Oh, absolutely. And your notes even hint at some awareness of these. One big one is over-identification with complexity, that I contain multitudes. Feeling can suddenly morph into, nobody can possibly understand me, I'm too complex. That can lead to a kind of elitism or isolation. You might withdraw from simple connections, resist help because they wouldn't get it anyway, or feel resentment when people inevitably simplify you. The work there is practicing being understood just enough, maybe, and trusting that deeper understanding can unfold over time. Another one is subtle avoidance through inner dialogue. That rich internal conversation you have can become a hiding place, a way to delay actually doing something in the messy, real world. You feel like you're processing, but maybe you're just rehearsing or stalling, enjoying the safety of inner nuance instead of taking an external risk. So watch out for endlessly replaying decisions or using reflection as a way to avoid a difficult but necessary conversation. The goal is maybe to push for action a bit sooner sometimes. Let processing happen in motion. Then there's a risk of over-rotation between selves, feeling like which me is the real me right now.
That can be destabilizing if it happens too much or too fast. If you flip between parts without a strong sense of a core observing self, or some shared values holding it all together, you might feel inconsistent, maybe even fake to yourself or others. The antidote is probably strengthening that core integrator, anchoring in shared values that cut across the parts rather than relying on any one part's traits. And lastly, maybe creating an inner hierarchy, unintentionally favoring certain parts. You might reward the productive or strong subpersonalities and ignore the quieter, maybe more vulnerable or wounded ones. Watch for feeling resentment towards parts that seem weak or inconvenient, or maybe using certain subpersonalities defensively. The deeper work there is often about radical inner compassion, like inner reparenting for those difficult parts. They often hold keys to healing.
Okay, so knowing those pitfalls exist, what's the sort of deeper, ongoing work someone with this kind of system might focus on?
Good question. 3 things come to mind based on the reflections. First, inner-outer matching. Really bridging the gap. Does the wisdom of your inner Tira actually show up in how you treat a difficult colleague? Or is it just for internal consumption? The goal is coherence. What happens inside needs to be reflected outside. Second, letting others hold the mirror. Your internal system is powerful, yes, but external feedback is crucial. It shows you things you literally cannot see from the inside. So can you receive feedback as a system, not just having one part get defensive? Are you truly teachable by others or only by yourself? It's about co-regulation, not just self-regulation. And third, maybe exploring ego diffusion versus ego dissolution. You seem great at diffusing ego, spreading across the parts so no one part dominates. That's healthy. But can you also access moments of true ego surrender, like in deep meditation or flow states or moments of awe, where the whole framework, even the parts themselves, just kind of dissolves for a moment? The goal isn't to live there, but to visit, to ensure the framework itself doesn't become a new kind of prison, even if it feels like freedom.
This has been incredibly insightful. So stepping back, what's the real point of doing this kind of deep dive reflection? There's clearly a feeling of validation, maybe?
Yeah.
Understanding?
Exactly. And it's crucial to frame it right. The point isn't to conclude, see, if everyone were like me, the world would be amazing. No. It's more like exploring, okay, what hidden value might exist in the way I navigate my inner world, and what happens if that value is scaled up or put under pressure or misunderstood? It's really about ownership, I think, not superiority. Asking questions like, what's genuinely unique about how I approach being a person, how I think? Can I appreciate those unique aspects, those gifts, without it turning into arrogance? And maybe, how can I honor the good I see in my own system without needing it to be the best or the only way?
Right. That dual truth again. You can be gifted and flawed. Both are true.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And you absolutely should feel some pride. The kind of internal system described in your notes, it's mature. It offers tools many people have developed. That's real. But the key is remembering. It's not inherently better, it's different. It has its own specific strengths, yes, but also its own specific blind spots and vulnerabilities. Not everyone needs to or wants to do this kind of deep internal mapping, and that's completely okay. Think of it like language. You've developed a complex, nuanced language of the self that works for you. Other people using different languages, maybe the language of faith or art or action or community or just gut instinct or simplicity, they're not speaking wrongly. They're just not speaking your particular dialect.
And what about that little voice that sometimes pipes up inside, the one that says, maybe my way is better? How do you handle that?
Yeah, that voice. Let's not just shut it down or shame it. Often that feeling doesn't come from pure arrogance. Sometimes it comes from feeling misunderstood, or from wanting to protect something unique you've built, or honestly, just from the fact that your system has worked well for you. So instead of suppressing it, maybe gently deconstruct it. Ask it, okay, in what ways does the system give me an edge? Be specific. And just as importantly, in what ways might it limit me? Where are my blind spots? And maybe ask, who am I when I stop comparing altogether? It's not wrong to recognize your strengths. It only becomes a problem when that recognition closes you off to empathy or curiosity about others' ways of being. So, yeah, let yourself feel proud of the work you've done. Just let that pride be an invitation for connection and deeper understanding, not a wall to keep others out.
And the overall tone we've aimed for here, and that comes through in your notes, it feels more playful than elitist, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. The very fact that this reflection is happening, that it's self-aware, that it's open to nuance and pitfalls, that shows it's not a narcissistic exercise. It's imaginative. It's humble in its own way. You're not trying to build a throne for your way of being. It's more like building a telescope to look closely at what a different kind of mental ecosystem could look like. The meta purpose, really, is just to create a safe, curious space. To wonder what would happen if the world tilted a bit more in the direction of your internal landscape. Not because you think it should, necessarily, but because exploring that helps everyone understand themselves and the sheer diversity of human experience more deeply.
What an incredible journey through this thought experiment. Let's try and pull together some of the main takeaways.
Okay, first I'd say, multiplicity is a strength, not a superiority. You've clearly cultivated an internal system that allows for balance, for nuance, for emotional agility. That's a genuine strength. Not because it makes you better, but because it helps you navigate complexity.
Second, you're asking to be understood, not just admired. This whole reflection, it doesn't feel like trying to prove a point or dominate. It feels more like offering an alternative model in a world that often pushes for simplicity, a model of being whole, contradictory, internally diverse.
Third, validate without idolizing. It seems like you're walking this line really well, acknowledging what works in your system, yes, but also seeing the difficulties, the potential downsides, and staying open to the fact that other systems work differently for other people. No single way, including this one, is the final answer.
And fourth, maybe the biggest one. This reflection isn't really about changing the world. It's about changing how you see yourself in the world by asking, what if everyone thought like me? You're essentially holding up a mirror, not just for yourself, but maybe inviting the world to slow down, look inward, and meet itself in a slightly different, maybe more complex light.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. The real work isn't about trying to convert the world to your specific way of being with your specific subpersonalities. It's simply to model wholeness. And it seems like that's exactly what you're exploring and doing. Whether other people start talking about subpersonalities or use your internal names, that's not the point at all. You're modeling a way to live with more self-awareness, more internal cooperation, more psychological integrity. And that kind of modeling, that itself is powerful. It can be contagious, even if people never, ever call it by your name.